Can you believe that we are at the end of July coming into August? And for a lot of the country, that means back to school is almost here. I know Walmart and Target have their back to school stuff in the aisles, which means that summer is rapidly coming to a close. So a couple of videos ago, I went into detail about the pool, and I figured now would be a great time to do another video about the pool. How do we like it? How did it hold up throughout the summer? How did the pool heater work? So on today's episode, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the ins and the outs of how the pool worked this summer, some of the things that I did, and I will answer some of the questions that I get in a lot of the comments about the pool heater as well as the pool itself. So sit back, relax, enjoy the last bit of summer we have, and don't burn the house down. First things first, when I did my video with the solar powered pool heater, I got a lot of questions in the comments about what pump do you use for the pool heater, and this is it. This is a 550 gallon per hour pond pump, and I will put the Amazon affiliate link in the description below. This is a submersible pump, so it has a hose that comes out of here, and you drop this into the pool, like that, and it pumps water through the hose, which then connected to the solar heater. Now you're probably asking yourself, if this is here, why isn't it hooked up to the solar heater? Well, let me show you. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that I have always preached that I will show you my successes and failures, and I'll talk to you about the things that went right as well as the things that went wrong. And as you can see, the solar heater looks to be in a little bit of disarray. I unhooked it about 3 weeks ago because it just got so darn hot here, I didn't need it. The pool temperature at one point climbed up to 90 degrees, and it was almost like you're swimming in a hot tub. So I disconnected it, and I have not hooked it back up since. Now, if you look at it, you'll notice I'm missing half a piece of plexi over here, and I got a big hole in that plexi up there. Well, what happened was, when I went to drain the pool heater, I took my air compressor hose, set it on a very low setting, and I put the air into here. Unfortunately, that air pressure was enough that it actually blew out the fitting right here on the heater, and it caused a leak. Now, when I made this darn thing, if you remember, I put adhesive on the sides here, and I think I said something like, oh, that baby's not going anywhere, that'll stick forever. Yeah, it sure did. And I could not get the thing to open up gracefully, and I ended up shattering this entire piece of plexi. This one, I was able to cut just a small hole into the top there, and I was able to get to that connection piece. So I was able to tighten that back up. So shame on me for using my air compressor, even though it was only on like 10 pounds, 10 PSI. It should have been able to handle it, but it has been shut down for about the last month or so because it's just been so darn hot we haven't needed it. The second part of that is the hose that I used coming in and out of it was just basic garden hose. And as you can tell by the creases and the kinks here, it was not designed to handle the heat. Garden hose is obviously not made to hold high heat, and especially on the outlet side here, this water got so darn hot that this thing just became just almost rubber, like melted rubber in your hand. So you can see it doesn't have any shape left to it. It's kinked, it's creased. I mean, it's got problems everywhere. So this hose is shot on both ends of it. So when I hook this back up here in a couple of weeks, I'm going to swap this out for just regular rubber tubing that is a little bit better suited for some hotter temperatures. So that's where the solar heater is. It worked extremely well while we had it hooked up, but unfortunately, through a couple of errors on my part, it is now out of commission for the time being. I will say, though, as far as the design is concerned, I still stand by this design, and I think it works wonderfully. But in a lot of the comments of my solar heater video, I talked about if you can use one continuous piece of tubing for this side and this side, which would be about 300 feet of total tubing, that's the route you want to go. Because I was kind of doing this off the top of my head, I ended up combining a 100-footer and a 50-footer on each side, and that's why I have the fitting. So there's a fitting here, there's a fitting there, and there's a fitting over here. If you were to have just 300 feet of continuous hose, you wouldn't have any of those fittings, and what happened to me would not happen to you. So the design works works well, but do yourself a favor and just stick with 300 feet of continuous hose instead of piecing a couple pieces together. So how about the pool itself? How has this thing been holding up throughout the summer? And I will say in a word, it has been fantastic. In my video where I showed the setup of this pool as well as what it took for me to level this pad, I showed you the amount of work that went into actually leveling the pad, and I will say that it's pretty darn close to being level. If you look on the far side of the pool here, you will see that there's about 1 square sticking above the water. If you come over to this side, it's about 1.5 squares to maybe 2 squares. Now that is about 1.5 inches off level. In everything you read about these pools, they say up to 2 inches is fine to be off level, and I'm not any more than 1.5 inches. So for this summer, I'm going to keep it. And then obviously when I go to tear it down, I will probably do a little bit extra leveling on the pad just to make sure it's about as close to perfect as I can make it. I am going to switch over now though to the underwater camera because I do want to show you what this looks like underwater. The amount of sand that I put in here, the amount of dirt I put in here, it did have an effect on how the pool settled after all the water got put in it. So I'm going to switch over to the underwater camera and my deep narrator voice to talk to you about what the bottom of the pool looks like, as well as how I clean the pool once I'm in there. For the underwater shots, I'm going to be using my new Cam Park GoPro knockoff. Basically, this is a action camera. It actually has a touchscreen LED screen on the back, and then I bought a little accessory kit that has this floating handle. So when it goes in the water, if you drop it, it'll float to the surface. You don't have to worry about it sinking. So if you like the image quality or how the video looks for the underwater shots, this is what I shot it with. And as always, I'll leave affiliate links to the camera as well as the accessory kit in the description below. So what I'm trying to capture with this shot is how uneven the ground is, even after all the work I did in leveling it. You can see some pretty big kind of craters right there, some pretty big divots. It doesn't affect the pool and it doesn't hurt the liner. It's noticeable. So again, I said this in my first video about the pool. Make sure you spend the time leveling and leveling and leveling and evening out that ground. What I think I'm going to find when I pull that up is that the sand settled in there a lot more than the black dirt did, and as the result, you can see there's definitely some inconsistencies in the floor there, but it doesn't hurt it. It's just different. One huge benefit of having this pool is how much my kids have improved at swimming. This is my 5-year-old. At the beginning of summer, she couldn't get in the pool without floaties or she'd almost instantly drown, and now she's deep diving for the things that sink to the bottom. My 8-year-old, she can swim like a fish now as well. I mean, just spending an entire summer in this pool has taught them so much, as well as just being confident within the water. This shot right here is just another kind of swimming around shot showing just how ununiform the floor is, and I guess I'm kind of beating a dead horse at this point, but I'm just really trying to get the point across that when you put down your dirt, when you put down your sand, make sure you get it nice and level. Now here what I'm showing you is the dirt that has accumulated at the bottom of the pool, and especially behind the ladder and behind any stationary objects. So as the filter and the skimmer are running, they do a really great job of picking up the stuff off the top, but anything that happens to sink to the bottom just lands right there. So I get it out by using a vacuum. Now the vacuum actually has a vacuum head, but I find that it works a little bit better just using the vacuum attachment as well as some hose. So what you're looking at here is the vacuum attachment that goes into the skimmer. You just drop that piece into the skimmer and it kind of creates a little suction cup, so that as the pool pump is running, it's just creating a vacuum. I mean, it's literally just a vacuum cleaner, like a shop vac, but what you're sucking into it goes straight into the filter. It's got about 20 feet of hose that I just leave floating in the pool, and then we kind of make a game out of it. I make the girls kind of kick up some dirt going under the water, and then I dive down there with the hose and it, kind of digging for treasure. The vacuum head doesn't seem to have enough suction to actually make any difference, so I just like to use the open hose like that. I just dive down to the bottom like you see here. I go to the spots where the dirt usually accumulates, which in the pool it's only about 3 different spots that it really readily accumulates, and I use the hose just to suck it up. It's kind of a fun little game, but it actually works pretty darn well. So that's how I keep the pool clean. Like I said, the skimmer does an amazing job keeping everything off the top. So bugs and leaves and hair and dirt that floats, that all gets sucked into the skimmer and into the filter. But the stuff that does happen to sink, this is how we get it out. The skimmer and the pump have worked phenomenal this summer, and the maintenance on it is very, very easy. All I do every day is come out here, I'll check the basket. I'll look and see there's always some hair and some grass and some dead bugs in there, so I'll knock it out, or when I get my other hand free, I'll just clean that out really quick. But that has really done a bang-up job of keeping this pool sparkling clean. The pump has been phenomenal as well. It's worked really great. I've had maybe 4 or 5 times so far this summer where I've had to backwash it, and it looks like I'm getting pretty close to needing to do it again as we're climbing into the yellow. So that process is very simple. All we do is we shut it off. We remove this cap. All right, so I loosen the cap, then you crank this top up here to closed. Take the cap off all the way. That will stop this from just spewing water out. Turn this thing to backwash. And then you turn the pump back on. What that's doing is it's taking the dirty sand and all the sediment and all the crap that it sucked out of the pool, and it's actually funneling the water backwards up through that filter. And so if you could actually see this water, it's really dirty. And I mean, I know you can't see it in my hand, but if you were to put that in a glass, it's actually really dirty because that's blowing out all the sediment that is stuck in that filter. Then what I'll do is I'll let that go about 5-10 minutes. And then once you are done backwashing it, you switch this over to rinse, and then you turn it back to filter, and you're done. Your pressure will go back down to a normal level. I'll put a hose in the pool if I need to put a little bit more water in there, depending upon how much we lose, and easy peasy. I mean, you talk about an easy filter, no cartridges, no nothing that you have to worry about. It just does this, pees into the bushes for a little bit, and then it's clean, good to go. It's pretty awesome. I also got some questions about what chemicals that I use in the pool, and I'll tell you, I just got these from Walmart. This is a Pool Essentials 4-in-1 shock, and then the chlorine tabs. These are the Clorox pool tabs, and then I have just a floating chlorinator that you put the tabs in, and you throw it in the pool when the kids are out of it, and it just kind of releases chlorine as it needs to. I did buy pH up and pH down. I've only used it once. I used the regular little test strips here. It's a 6-way test strip. Again, got it from Walmart. And I test for pH, I test for chlorine and alkalinity, all that stuff. I basically determined that my water is too darn hard. There's nothing I can do about that. But I have only needed to go pH down once or twice. So I shock it once a week, usually on a Sunday night, and then keeping this thing full of chlorine, and the chlorine has stayed perfectly in line all summer. We have not had any issues with clouding or algae or any of that stuff. So just the regular old chlorine tabs, and then the dispenser, and then shock, and then these little test strips, and that's all we've needed. So all in all, the pool has been an absolute lifesaver this summer. We've had a ton of fun in it, and we have a little bit of time left before our kids go back to school here in September. But ladies, has it been a good thing to have this summer?
Yeah! Yeah!
I guess that's your answer. Thank you for watching.